Hello and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm working on these pine boards that I picked up from Bunnings on clearance. I bought 20 at 45 centimeters in diameter and 20 at 60 centimeters diameter. So for this I'm actually going to be using some texture as well as some acrylic paint. So I'm using some Impasto Medium and I'm going to apply this with a mixture of palette knives and my hands. So without further ado, let's get into this one. So as you can see, for this one I'm using a palette knife to apply the texture to the board. Now I don't have a general design in mind, I'm just going to apply the texture and then I'll come back and decide how I'm going to paint it and what colours I'm going to use to paint these boards. So while applying this mixture, I'm actually wanting to have some raised areas as well. So as well as wanting the whole board to have an element of texture, I want some areas which are more defined than the rest, so that when I apply the paint I've got some definition in areas. So as you can see, I'm just creating some ridges in a circular motion on the board. So I left that to dry overnight, and now I'm going to come back and add some acrylic paint and start colouring it up. So I'm using the Atelier range of acrylic paints, and I think this one is Payne's Grey. Now I will leave a link in the description below for all the colours used in this piece, and I've just added a touch of water so that I can spread this about a little bit. So the water I've just placed into a little spray bottle just to make it easier, and I'm just going to spread this paint around. Now the reason why I've added water is so that that paint will go down into the creases and it will have a bit more of a wash over the board rather than it being a thick paint. And I'm also using a turquoise. It's a little bit difficult to see, so this is a turquoise again from Atelier. Now note, I'm not waiting for any of the other colours to dry before applying these colours because I want to blend them together. So I'm going to use my brush to just blend those colours together, and then I shall add some white to it also. And as you can see, I'm following the shape of the texture, so I'm making sure that my paint is moving in that same direction. And as you can see, I'm adding a generous amount of white, which I'm then going to blend between these three colours. So I'm going to keep going around, adding a touch more paint and blending those colours until I have the look that I'm looking for. Now as I lay some of the other colours on top, I'm trying not to over blend those, so I'm adding a touch on my brush and just adding little bits here and there just to build that colour up. So for this part I'm adding some extra colour, so I want to bring out the texture areas a little bit more. So just using a smaller brush, I'm now going over the top of the texture to help this to stand out from the rest of the piece. And then I'm going to add a touch more colour around the edge of the board, just to just bring out some highlights and shadows and bring a little bit more colour into the piece. So as you can see, I'm just flicking the brush round on top of the wet paint so that it picks up a little bit of the colour underneath, but also adds colour on top. So we do get some slight blending, but not too much. And as you can see, I am following the contour of the board and the texture also, and just very lightly flicking some colour over the top just to add a little bit extra to this piece. And then finally I'm just using my finger to just tidy up the central piece because I've got quite a lot of brush strokes which I want to smooth down, so I'm just using my fingers to smooth down those areas so that you can see the texture underneath and not just the brush strokes. So that's what I'm doing there. I'm just tidying that up by blending with my fingers. I hope you enjoyed this quick insight into how I create my abstract art. I'm going to be making more of these, so if you're interested then please subscribe to my channel. So until next time, bye for now.